2.
Welcome to Waiting, where we talk through everything culture, church, and all things in between. All right, welcome. Hope everyone's doing well. Here we are for episode 4, I believe, and we're here with one of my best friends in the world, someone who couldn't be more opposite to me. But we're so excited, and we'll introduce you to him right now. But here he is. This is Austin.
Hello.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good.
Amazing.
I'm a little nervous because you were looking at the camera. So do I have to look at the or do I just look at you?
I was looking at this one just to say hi.
Oh, but that'll be like the intro.
But you can say hi to this one if you want.
Hello.
But
okay, great.
Here we go. Amazing. I figured we should get Austin on this podcast so I can just get some more views. It's a views grab, is to get the Austin.
I'm in for that.
But here we are. Austin, everyone knows you're around Phoenix, but come to find out, got a DM after our last episode was out 2 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
And someone in Spain watched it.
No. Spain.
And which is crazy because we didn't even have 100 views, and one of them was Spanish.
Let's go.
Crazy.
What did they say? Was it like a positive review?
They said it was great, and they kind of accidentally stumbled on it on YouTube. I was like, how far were you digging on YouTube to find this? Yeah. But they found it.
Deep hole.
Not a believer.
Wow.
Awesome. So
if you're a sinner on this and you're watching this, repent.
Oh, yes.
Repent.
But I actually have a FaceTime with him soon.
Let's go,
He wants to talk. So pretty awesome.
So what's his name?
His name's James.
So James, if you're listening to this, you're getting a shout out on the Waiting podcast.
Let's go.
A few weeks later.
Amazing.
Let's go.
Amazing. Austin, before we get into what we want to chat about,
yes,
give us a quick Spark Notes, who you are, where you're from, all the things what to do.
Yeah, let's do it. Austin James Rockwell the first. My parents almost gave me the middle name Wolf with an E because it's my mom's maiden name. And then they're like, you know what? We'd rather set up Austin for an average life, not an awesome life.
Wolf. Wow.
Austin Wolf, are you like? I feel
that would be great.
Yeah, but they're like basic white name. But
you ended up being best friends with a Wolf.
That's so true. Noah Wolf.
So.
Noah Wolf. So it worked out in the end. But Austin James Rockwell the first. I do have a dream of naming a son. Junior. And I'm from Madison, Wisconsin.
Okay.
Go Packers. Go Badgers. Go cheese.
Go cheese.
You ever had a cheese curd?
I love cheese curds. I don't like cheese.
The squeaky kind
like
or the
cold
fried
cheese.
kind? You ever had the squeaky kind?
Tell me the difference.
Really? Okay, so like the fried kind is what the ones you get at like Culver's.
Oh yeah, I've had those.
But the squeaky kind are like actual. It's like what's inside the fried cheese curd.
Ah.
You've never had those?
No, I have those.
Yeah, they call it squeaky cheese.
Okay.
You'd go to like farmers markets on Saturdays around the square in Madison.
Amazing.
Around the Capitol, and you'd get squeaky cheese.
Awesome.
And they have the white kind or the yellow kind.
Love it.
And the irony of this all, Aaron, is that I'm lactose intolerant. So go Packers, go Badgers, go cheese. Madison, Wisconsin. I'm number 6 of 10 kids in my family.
Wow.
So I have 9 siblings.
That's right.
My parents could have had their own TV show. Wayne and Jen plus 10.
Have you watched the documentary Shiny Happy People?
No.
You need to watch it.
Okay.
It's about the Duggar family.
Yeah.
Anyways.
19 and count, or 21. It's like they kept renaming the show.
Yeah, you need to watch that.
Okay, Shiny Happy People.
Were you a public school, private school, homeschool? What?
A mix of private school and homeschool.
It makes sense.
Thank you. Homeschool till I was in 4th grade, and then my mom figured out that there was a thing called an extrovert, and she was like, oh, like he needs people, and then she threw me to the wolves of private school, and I sat day one next to one of my best friends to this day, Storm Murphy.
Amazing.
And 6 of 10 kids, and so classic middle child syndrome. And grew up a pastor's kid.
Yes.
My dad was a Baptist pastor. So, being from Wisconsin, number 6 of 10 kids, Baptist pastor's kid, I'm recovering from a lot. And I need you
Are all your siblings as extroverted as you?
I need you to pray for me. No, they're not.
I only know one of your siblings.
Ryan.
And he's not like you.
Couldn't be more opposite.
Yeah.
And, dude, if that doesn't go to say how good of a pastor you are, my own brother, my own bloodline was like, Yeah, I'm gonna go to Aaron's church. And listen, I get it, man. If I were him too, I would.
I'm more like him than I am you.
Totally.
100%.
Yeah.
So
like you guys both dress well. People
dress well.
Don't think you're annoying. They like being around you.
No.
So yeah. But pastor's kid. You either you know this. You either become a pastor or you go to jail.
Right.
And I chose the pastor route first.
Yeah.
I'm thinking jail route next.
Yeah. Love that. Love that.
So that's me.
That's amazing. So, GCU grad?
Yes.
GCU grad. Austin and I swear we didn't like each other for a little bit, but it was more because I just was I think Austin is so misunderstood. But the way we became friends actually was what class was it? I know was it like
one of them.
It was one of the Christian classes at GCU. And we became friends because Austin was making me laugh in class by just everything that was going on, even when there was slight heresy being said.
Yeah.
You would say, praise God.
Praise God.
So we just laugh.
Praise God.
We went from there. And I've slightly done some ministry together, but we've been very closely related in a lot of things.
Yes.
Ankle deep a little bit.
Yep. Well, dude, you graduated, and then I was still in school, and then you were, like, interviewing at all of these churches, and all of them were doing a horrible job at, like, interviewing you and understanding you, and were, like, pitching you weird job descriptions.
Yeah.
And you were just like, I'm just going to keep working at a, like, coffee shop or hanging until the right one comes along.
Yeah.
And I was just remember being like, what church meets Aaron and isn't like, I'm going to immediately hire that guy. And then your dad made the best choice ever and was like, dude, if no one else will.
Yeah.
But that's God's favor on your life.
I really like to say that, there were very weird interview processes, but maybe they just didn't like me. But also, I really think...
You think it was a race thing?
Yeah.
It's because you're from
England. I'm white. But I think one of the main reasons I really to this day have a core belief that God waited that out and waited for me to be at Grace was because I wasn't with my wife. Because I think I was applying for youth ministry jobs, not college ministry.
Yep.
So when this one came up, which was at the time high school and college.
Yes.
I think, like, just being really honest there, I think leading a college ministry as someone who's freshly out of college, I don't think I would have done it well.
New challenges for sure.
Yeah.
Different challenges.
Yeah, I think just my personality.
Yeah.
The Austin knows when I was in college. Kind of a serial dater.
Dude, serial dater.
And
you were
dater.
about the life, though.
But I'm still about it. I still kind of encourage some college students. I'm like, go on dates.
1,000%.
Go on dates.
But there's this iconic moment where you were like, why can't I be friends with girls? And I was like, well, Aaron, because you asked them on dates.
I remember that.
And it's fine. It's totally fine.
We got into a big texting argument with that.
We did.
I remember that.
We did.
But we made it out. But yeah, I really believe God was just waiting until I was with my now amazing wife and mother of my first son.
Oh my gosh. Before that, quick, just, for the viewers.
Yeah.
I agree with that. You should ask girls on dates. I played the I'm going to be friends with girls route, and a lot of girls started liking me, and I knew that. And I just let that happen and never DTR'd. And, wouldn't kiss them or cuddle with them or hold their hands or anything, but would for sure have, like, conversations with them that are either spiritually intimate or relationally intimate about my family or about their family or about their walk with God. And then let's, like, oh, what do you mean? You have a crush on me? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, like, when they inevitably start dating another guy, the friendship's over immediately.
Then what would you say is the healthiest route to being friends with girls as a single guy?
Yeah.
Because you have an amazing girlfriend now.
Yeah, she's awesome. The best.
But as someone who's in college and is single,
you're like, I'm single and I am open to dating, but I'm single.
Right.
I think you just be aware of your personality. Like, I have a very friendly and outgoing and bubbly personality, so everyone would be like, oh, Austin's just flirting with me or with everyone. And maybe I recently heard a definition of flirting that was like, flirting is anything that invites desire or like attention romantically. And the exchange of currency between guys and girls in college is attention. Oh, he texted me back.
So true.
She didn't text me back.
That's really true.
And the currency is like, whoever has more power is whoever shows less desire in communication. The double text, the triple text, that's the weakest move you can make. Why? Because it's a power dynamic between guy or girl.
True.
Saying who's invoking more desire, who wants it more. And so when you have a very outgoing and bubbly personality and you're an involved person at any university or as a young person, at your church group, at your run club, shout out 7 Run Club, Saturday mornings, 7 o'clock, downtown Phoenix, and Tuesday nights at Indian School Park.
Austin came once.
I came one time, just for the Instagram post.
It's a great post.
Thank you. And, you know, whatever the young adult community is, and you invoke kind of this desire or this attention, and then things are just left unsaid, because once you DTR, well, that friendship has changed forever, whether you like it or not.
It's true.
Because every time you're at church group, every time you're at Unified, you're looking across the room, you're like, ah, shoot, she shot her shot, I shot her down, I shot my shot, she shot me down, or we went on a date and it didn't go well, and now we have to still be in the same frame. So it's like, what's the easier route? Just don't DTR. So I would say I did that very poorly, and I repent of that. I do. I hurt a lot of girls' feelings, and it wasn't fair to them or fair to my future wife or my girlfriend now. So I think you were more wise in saying, I know I want to be married, but you were, at least you're upfront. You were upfront with it.
I was very upfront.
But what I liked about you is you were like, I like you, you like me, you're a Christian, I'm a Christian, you're hot, I'm hot, let's date. And not a bad model.
But the funniest thing is that my marriage isn't a product of that route of dating.
Okay. T.
She asked me out. She texted me on a random night.
What?
And said, Aaron, what are you doing tonight? I was serving in a youth group at the time. It was a Wednesday night.
This is perfect. Aaron, what are you doing? Serving God.
I said I was taking 2 of these students home that night.
Home, yeah.
All that.
So I'm only free at 11 p.m.
Saying I'm not doing anything.
No.
And she was like, come and pick me up and take me on a date.
Whoa.
I said, see you at night. And that night, fun fact, I still went to you, right? I took those 2 students home.
Oh my gosh.
On the way to taking them home, they said, we're hungry, so I stopped through McDonald's like a good youth leader.
Have to.
Got them some chicken nuggets. 2 minutes from showing up at their house, one of the kids is sat in the back, and he's a middle schooler, and he goes, Aaron, like, I don't feel good. And I was like, oh no, we're almost home, whatever. Proceeds to throw up all over my backseat.
No, he does not.
Of my car.
This.
I'm going from dropping them off to GCU to pick Eleanor up. So I'm freaking out, pull into this car wash that was so like sketch and still open at 9 p.m.
Yeah, it's always a good sign.
They're kind of closing up, and they were some college-age guys. I pull in, and I was like, I just told them the whole story. I was like, this happened, but this is where I'm going.
Yes.
They said to me, go and sit over there.
We're detailing.
It'll be good in 10 minutes.
No.
They take out all the carpets, all this stuff. They power wash the inside of my car. So I'm watching and I'm like, so now it's just going to be soaking wet inside.
Right.
And then they bring over this dryer that's as big as this table.
Yes.
Dry out the whole thing. Anyways, I pick her up, and the first thing she said when she gets in my car is, your car smells good.
Oh. Win.
So
what you thought was a setback was actually a setup for the blessing in your life.
And we'd never hung out in person.
Dude.
So we don't even talk in Instagram DMs, texting, FaceTime.
Right.
And so automatically the ice was broken where I was able to say, guess what just happened? And I had a great funny story to tell, and she didn't believe it. And
perfect. Perfect.
And then classic Aaron. There's no slow burner in dating for me. It never was.
That.
We went on 10 dates within like 2 weeks after that.
10 dates, 2 weeks?
We went on 10 dates in 2 weeks.
That's a great average.
And then we were official, whatever. I'll tell you the rest in a second.
And this was summer, right?
This was kind of
like
graduated the COVID semester at DCU.
Yes.
She moved, so I saw her around like whatever that semester.
Right.
I used to at BlackRock when I was working at a coffee shop. Coworkers would ask me, they'd be like, "Aaron, what's like your type?" You know,
right?
Working with non-Christians, you know, not believers. They're like, "What's your type? Like, what do you go for?" And I was like, I would pull up her Instagram.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
And just be like,
and so
this baddie.
I had the COVID confidence, the quarantine confidence.
Yeah.
She put on a Bible verse on her story. Love this verse. Still don't remember the verse at all.
Yes.
He who finds Proverbs a wife. 31. But, and so
life verse, Proverbs 31.
Start DMing. We FaceTime every single day for maybe 2 months. This was during quarantine, so this was like May, June time.
Yeah.
Randomly one FaceTime, she goes, "Hey Aaron, by the way, we're just gonna be friends."
No.
Because I'm not somebody you would want to date. She said that to me.
Oh.
And I was like, interesting. Just kind of let it go.
Yes.
Respected what she wanted to say and just wanted to be friends. So when she said, "I just want to be friends,"
yes,
I could hear the Austin voice in my head. You're not friends with girls. So my friendship with her,
pull up the text.
My friendship with her proceeded to be, we just don't talk. So we weren't friends.
Oh.
We just didn't talk from then. And so her asking me out,
right?
As much as it was funny to say, it was her like point in her life when she friend zoned me. She said, "I never thought I would friend zone a guy because of me."
Wow.
So she worked on her relationship with God throughout that whole summer.
Wow.
And so her asking me out was actually a moment in time when she said, "No, I want this now, and I and I can date someone who's following God." And
if I remember correctly, she has and had at the time an amazing friend group around her of godly women.
Yeah.
And they were encouraging her in all of this.
Yeah.
So shout out godly community. Yeah. Kind of being the engine for wise decisions.
Greta. Shout out to Greta.
Karen, like car in a garage. When I met Karen, she was like, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, they're awesome.
And now this is the mother of your child, Crew.
7 weeks old.
7 weeks.
Yeah, Crew Nathan.
Wow.
Crew Nathan Wadsworth.
Nathan after your best friend?
After my best friend, who was my best man at my wedding, and Eleanor's cousin, who passed when he was like 12 years old. So it was like a great double meaning. Never got to meet him, but...
Nathan. There is a Nathan in the Bible, I think.
There is.
What does he do?
I don't know. He's not in the Hall of Fame at all.
Yeah, he's not in the Hall of Faith. If you're not in Hebrews 11, I don't want it. I don't want it.
No big deal.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyways.
Wow.
Yeah. Don't know how we got to that, but here we go. So now you're the director of Kamp Love.
Yes.
You're the pastor at Nisi.
Yes.
Which, how long's that been going now?
Since September, so almost 2 semesters.
September. And then your Monday, Thursday service that just happened. How many people were there?
250.
It's insane. It's insane. Do a quick explanation of what you do on that Monday, Thursday. Because I know you got like the inspiration for this and kind of the heart from it from when you were a college student. And it really impacted you.
Yeah.
So now you wanted to do it. So tell me about it. So Nisi actually is 5 minutes from where we do church here at Grace. At Unified. So
Unified
awesome.
at Nisi.
Yeah.
And dude, I was in college and I went to a church called New City. Pastor Brian Kruckenberg, faithful man of God, downtown church. Felt like I didn't want to do the church hopping shopping thing when I got to Arizona because I'm from Madison. So I said, God, if I walk into a church and they, worship you in spirit and truth, teach the Bible faithfully, and people that I do life with Monday through Saturday are there on Sundays, I can serve. Could probably make this place my home for 4 years. And don't want to make church about me. And I walked into New City and I was like, yep, this is it. So I stayed there for 4 years. Anyway, but when my freshman year, they were like, yeah, it's Holy Week, Maundy, Thursday. And I was like, what's Maundy, Thursday? I don't even know how to spell Maundy, much less what it is. And basically just an amazing walkthrough of Seder and the Last Supper, kind of Passover experience with some biblical themes and teaching of when Jesus shared his Last Supper with his disciples before he went to the cross on Good Friday, and did it outside and put a stage in the middle and string lights and this amazing experience.
So did you eat a full meal?
Yeah, eat a full meal. So lamb and unleavened bread. And if you read that like Exodus Passover passage, like they do not put yeast in the bread. Like that's the most, they say it like 18 times. Like no yeast. So unleavened bread. And then yes, Seder means to set. And this like Seder plate has all these different elements that Jewish people of God would use to remember different things that God has like brought, you know, his people out of. So, you know, one of the elements is like salt water, and you dip one of the elements in salt water, and the salt water is to resemble the tears of the Israelites when they're in slavery. So it's just so beautiful, and like you just, I don't know, like white, boring, middle-class American Christians don't think about the history of God's people. So in college, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so theologically and historically rich, and I related to it so much. And it was just amazing. It was like an awesome meal as a college student. So then when I was in my first year of college ministry last year, I was like, dude, we got quite a few budget dollars left to spend. Like, let's do it, you know? Yeah. And then we just did it, and college students were like, I've never done this before. So cool. And I watched freshmen have the same experience I had as a freshman. So I was like, whether I'm a pastor in the future, or young adult ministry, or whatever, I always want to do a Monday, Thursday service. So worked out really well. Yeah, we did like a ministry portion. I wrote like a poetic kind of representation of Peter, describing the experience from the Last Supper. And then we did feet washing and did communion in the chapel, and then went across the parking lot to the house, and in the backyard did a full Seder and Passover meal.
Cool.
And we have this student, her name's Victoria. She leads this like whole food team, and they prepared all of it, like lamb, and I like to see how like much I can get in trouble. So we emptied wine bottles and put grape juice in them.
Amazing.
And we made like our own Passover like wine wrapping and taped them on.
So cool.
Just so people could be like, is this wine?
So is this a walkthrough at their own pace, or was everyone doing the same thing at the same time?
Everything same time. Yeah. So yeah, it was great.
That's
awesome. Really, really powerful.
Yeah. Sweet. For those who don't know, Nisi Young Adult Ministry out of Skyline Church in California.
Yes.
Do the quick story of how you got the chapel, you got the house,
gosh,
all that, and then we'll get into.
So I'm at my last church, and I have to go full-time with my nonprofit, Kamp Love, because we're going to be at 5 universities, and there's like these Tuesday staff meetings for 4 hours in Chandler. And I'm like, as much as I love being in those, I probably need, just can't be full-time on staff.
Yeah.
So, but we have 250 college students, and kids are getting reached, and I think the church I was at did like 13 Easter services the last 2 years. Something like 70% of their volunteers were these college students at this ministry.
Yeah.
So it's like an amazing volunteer base. These students are coming and serving every week. They're like growing in the Lord. Kids are coming to faith. This is the largest college ministry the church has ever seen. And we're using their like satellite campus that barely gets used. And it's like a house on the property, and where we do like a post party with food and their chapel. And so I go to my senior pastor and executive pastor, and I'm like, yo, would you let me office my nonprofit out of the house? And then like we'll put money into it, and and out of the chapel we'll just keep running this college ministry. I was like, you can cut my salary, you don't need to pay me, I just need to go full-time Kamp Love, but I don't want to like stop doing this. And I make the 6-page packet. I like send it to my mentors. I read it to my a few of my close college students. I'm like, do you think they're just gonna receive this well? They're like, this is a no-brainer. They're gonna take this deal 10 out of 10 times. So it's time for the meeting, and I like pitch them this idea, and I remember like the pastor like took the paper, like flipped it open like one page, and just like put it down on the table next to him, and was like, yeah, not interested. And I was
one
like,
page.
What? Yeah, it's just like, I was like, there's 5 more pages. I worked so hard on that. So I'm like, well, frick. So I'm like, all right, well, like, I guess I don't get to like pastor young adults anymore or whatever. So, dude, that was a Wednesday. And I walked out of that room with a peace from God that like I had experienced before, where a door was so clearly shut that like it didn't really feel like the pastor was making that decision. It felt like God was. And I think about that verse all the time where it says, many are plans in a man's heart, but it's God who orders steps. So I walked out with some peace, and then 7 days later have this meeting with this guy named Tevin, who I had met twice. Tevin Lucas.
Yeah.
And he was like, yo, there's this property in downtown Tempe right by ASU. He was like, I know you're trying to go full-time with your nonprofit, but you still want to pastor young adults. He's like, there's this house, a parking lot, and a chapel. He's like, what if you office your nonprofit out of the house and run a young adult ministry out of the chapel? And I literally like was trying not to show all my cards in the moment, like freak out. And I'm like, trying to play it cool in front of Tevin, don't ruin the deal or whatever. And I'm like, am I gonna be wired, like caught? So that was in like March or April. But the church that owned the property in California didn't fully know what they wanted to do yet, so it wasn't official. But it just felt too specific to like not be from God.
Right.
7 days later, the exact pitch that I had written 6 pages to describe is now being pitched back to me by a guy I had hung out with twice. So then, we get the keys in August, and was able to go full-time nonprofit Kamp Love as we were at 5 universities last fall. And launched this college ministry, which I tried. It's so funny. I tried to name the young adult ministry at my last church, Nisi, and they were like, "No, you can't name it."
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can't name it creatively. You have to call it like name of church, young adults.
Yeah.
And I was like, "All right, if we want to fit the vision of the church." So then when we got this ministry, I was like, "It's Nisi time. It's Nisi time."
That's awesome.
So
sweet, man.
Yeah, God's time is funny.
Yeah.
So part-time on staff with Skyline Church in like La Mesa, San Diego area.
Okay.
And they have this initiative called the 10-10-10 initiative. So they want to plant 10 churches or 10 ministries in 10 years to reach 10,000 people.
That's awesome.
So and I think they're on year 3 or 4. And Nisi in Tempe is a part of that.
Do you go out there often?
I do, yeah. Frontier Flights. I take a moment to thank our sponsors, Frontier
on Instagram.
Frontier Airlines. Go Wild Pass, $600 for the whole year.
That's
Only
crazy.
pay taxes and fees on flights and book 24 hours in advance. $15 flights to San Diego. So, yeah, all my frequency trips are sponsored by Skylines Housing and by Frontier Airlines.
Amazing. Tease up what we're going to talk about, actually, after hearing about how all that came about. But I have one last question before the topic. I was just thinking about it as I was looking at you.
Talk to me.
And Ashley, our friend, is also here.
Yes.
And they happen to both be redhead. And I've been having this kind of situation happen recently.
No.
That more and more people over the last 6 months been asking me if I'm redhead.
No.
And so, but I think it's my beard. My hair for sure is not red.
Yeah, it's blonde, dirty blonde.
But more people, even Morgan yesterday, was like, "Is your beard red?" My wife tries to tell me it is a little bit.
Yeah.
Or not.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I can see it.
Like for the first time ever, so at Kamp Love, just this last one at Lost Canyon.
Yes.
In the talent show where they got all the gingers to go down
Was someone
and dance.
like, Aaron, go?
No, I was so scared that was gonna happen.
Oh yeah.
I was extremely fearful that I almost went to the bathroom. I was like, I'm really worried that people are gonna start to try and get me up there because I'm not a ginger.
Yeah.
At least I tell myself I'm
That
not.
is hilarious. Oh my gosh.
Do you think I am? Just be honest.
No. Were you bullied in middle school for it?
No.
Then don't you
I
dare
was
claim
blonde,
ginger
my whole
status.
life.
That's kind of like the reference point. It's like if people weren't bullied in middle school for being a ginger, then you don't get to claim it later on in life.
I like that.
Thank you.
But this old lady at church recently,
Right.
she was meeting Crew, my son, and she was just like, I wonder if you'll be
he's gonna
redhead. And I was like, stop.
You're like, don't speak that over my son.
No.
Don't speak that over my son.
So
want him to
I
have
don't
a
know.
happy life.
Maybe as I age, this is just what's happening.
You think Crew will have an English accent? I hope he will.
So my niece and nephew, my sister's 2 kids,
Yeah.
they were both born here,
Right.
but they're like kind of bilingual in accents. So like when they're around my parents, their grandparents, they're like, they have this accent.
Yeah.
And they'll say to their friends or their other family members, they'll say, hey, my dad says garage,
Yeah.
but my grandpa says garage.
Garage.
Like they're like, they have these like different It's really smart, but it's awesome. So I don't know. Maybe
That's
he
hilarious.
might.
Yeah, you just got to put on Peppa Pig.
True.
That's the one? That's the English one?
Yeah, it's super English. Yeah.
Yeah, so you just put on Peppa Pig, and Eleanor won't know what hit him.
So, yeah, my accent is pretty much gone unless I'm with my family. So Eleanor says she was just kind of robbed from marrying an actual British man.
Right. You just got to do like a little stint in the UK, in that.
So we really were planning on going this summer, but then cruise here.
Then you knocked up your wife.
Did.
knocked her up real good.
So, anyways.
To completion.
Yep. So, talked about Nisi and Kamp Love, all that you're doing.
Yeah.
The main thing that I always see that I'm inspired by how you lead both those ministries, and they're both very different kinds of ministries, but the way that most of the people who go or don't go know that these two ministries are led, yes, by Austin, but mostly by volunteers and people who serve, and that's because of the development and the passion that you desire to give them. So even like your Monday Thursday service, it's like how much of the setup or creativity behind it was even you. So I know we talked about what you want to talk about on this, this was instantly what came to your mind. So this is what you're really passionate about, is young leaders being developed, discipled, and using their gifts. And so tell me your thoughts right off the bat of, one, where that came from, if it came from maybe a frustration or a discontentment in how you've seen it, or and now how you're doing that actively now in both those ministries.
Well, I think that everyone who or at least most of the young leaders I've talked to who are called to ministry have a discernment gift where they are in a space of where ministry is being done, church on Sunday, the young adult ministry, youth group, whatever, Sunday school, and they're kind of looking at the speaker and they're saying, I think I could do a better job than them. But what they're not saying they could actually do a better job. They're just saying, I have a desire that's inside of me that when I see a pastor on stage, I want to be up there. You know, every pastor has the sermon in their back. Yeah, every pastor has their sermon in their back pocket that when they are in high school or college, they're like, if anyone's like, God, you know, does anyone have a message from God? You're like, I do. You know, like I could give this. And so I had those kind of thoughts in college, and I remember going to the youth pastor at my church in college and being like, hey, can I help teach the youth group? And they were like, no. And I remember going to the children's ministry and be like, I love teaching. I love kids. A group of children's pastors' kid. Can I teach the youth group or the Sunday school? And they were like, no. And I remember even just asking for pastors' time and being like, hey, will you help me teach me how to preach? I feel like I have a teaching gift. I want to learn how to teach. And it was hard to get their time and their development. And I just remember being really bummed by the lack of opportunity for myself, for someone who was really, I was like free energy for anyone's ministry. You know what I mean? Put me in front of 5 kids or 500 kids. I'm going to be so excited to teach the Bible to anyone. I'm a young student in college studying how to do ministry. I was like, please, anyone just see me and grab me and use and abuse my gifting. You know what I mean? Just give me a shot. I just want to teach the Bible, whatever. And no one was doing that for me. And I was like, yeah, it was just a bummer. I was just like, now that I'm in ministry, it's so funny. It's like a kid like me in college is free energy for your thing. You know what I mean? They'll post on Instagram every week for you. They'll invite all of their friends. They'll run an event for you. You know what I mean? And now that I'm sure it's the same for you. You have a student like that. They'll post every week. They'll invite all their friends. You're like, that's the dream student. Can do announcements for you if you're gone. Could preach a week for you. Anyway, so that was kind of my experience. But then, I got into ministry, and then I was looking at the life of Jesus. And Jesus could have gone to the Hebrew schools and picked the best and the brightest and the best-looking young men to be his disciples, his students of, he was a rabbi, his teacher. And he didn't do that. He went to the docks and was like, hey, you two brothers, James and, that are cussing at each other on the ship, you guys come follow me. Hey, tax collector that no one likes, that no one will actually listen to, you come and follow me. Hey, dude that's gonna deny me 3 times, you come and follow me. And those guys were freaking idiots, but they like followed and loved Jesus with such a passion because they had nothing else. And there's this amazing Bible verse where it says, his power is made perfect in our weakness. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then there's another verse where Paul is saying, I didn't speak with eloquent words so that I didn't get in the way of the simple message of the gospel of Jesus Christ. So then I'm like, well, what do? We find the best speakers, the best looking, the best sounding, who can dress the best, who have the most charisma and did the best in school, and we platform them. And we pay them thousands of dollars to speak at our conferences, and then we wonder why we have infant Christians. Because we've platformed all those people. And then all of these pastors are like, where's the next generation of pastors? I'm like, well, you platformed all the best looking and the best speakers, and you didn't spend any time developing the new ones. So there are no new pastors to like fill the churches. And so then I was just super aware of that. Like, you know this. You're a great speaker. You're good looking. You have an awesome church. You have an awesome ministry. Like, in 5 years, if you wanted, like Aaron Wadsworth could be on the conference, like Instagram sliders, 1,000%. And you probably will be, and that's not a bad thing. But you totally could be. And there's an actual career path to that, where you become a youth pastor. You create really good content. You get really awesome clips on podcasts or when you're preaching. You post a lot. You get people to share that. You get your first conference gig. Then other people see you did your conference, and then they invite you to the next one, and then the next one, the next one. And now you're in that crew. You get to hang with those guys. And it's a career move. And I was like very aware of that desire in my heart, Oh, God, I want to speak at Passion. I want to speak, whatever. And I was like, I got to do something about that fast.
How old were you when this was the case?
High school.
High school?
Yeah, when I was preaching in my youth group, I would listen to guys like Judah Smith, Francis Chan, everyone. Every preacher. I would watch them. I would learn their mannerisms. I learned their talking patterns, their content, what gets a crowd going. Like, that's what I think about all the time.
When did you get a call into ministry?
I would say I was called my sophomore year, but high school, and then I made the decision to go study Bible in college in my senior year.
Gotcha. Okay.
So,
anyways, sorry, keep going.
No, yeah. So I just was like very aware of that in my heart and in my mind. So then I was like, all right, as we had some success with Kamp Love, as we had some success with this young adult ministry, I was like, I got to quickly decentralize the ministry from myself. And the best way to decentralize the ministry from yourself is to teach other people how to do it and then get out of the way. And every time that you get out of the way, you are making the trade. The product is going to be less good for the fact that these young leaders get to be developed in an opportunity. Every time a new worship leader gets a shot to lead worship, it doesn't sound as good as it could. Right. But what is being formed in that young leader is almost a higher value than it's sounding better. Every time I let a student preach at Nisi, it's not because I think that they could do a better job than me. Sometimes they do. But it's because I care about them having to form a message for 4 weeks, having to meet with me 4 times and go over all of their content, give me their message in my office where I get to have a notepad and just roast all of the bad content, all the things that they're saying that isn't even true or biblical. And what I watch formed in them in that process, from the time they start preparing their message to the time they give the message to then after the message, is like priceless. It's like, dude, I'll take that 100 times over rather than just preaching every week. Now, I have that unique opportunity because I have a boss and I have oversight, but no one's really telling me how to run the ministry. Right. So, and I'll say there are negatives to that as well. But I've just kind of like wanted to develop my life and my ministry off of seeing young leaders, identifying their giftings and callings, and then providing opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've seen the negative side of like someone could be listening to this and they're a young leader or whatever, or been an experienced leader, and they hear the best you could do is to find people who can do it and get out of the way or develop them. They'll see that and think, oh, this is going to make my life easier. And they'll hear what you're explaining right now. And they're like, this makes your ministry way easier and you have way less to do. I don't think that's the case. I think you have more. Like hearing that you're like, oh, I get the student in, give them 4 weeks to prepare, meet with them once a week for 4 weeks, run through the whole message and their content. I think some leaders, some pastors have been going this route and saying, I'm going to get people and get out the way, but without actually coaching or developing them. And so that doesn't even last long. Or you get someone speaking on stage and it is not good. Or and they weren't able to say, hey, that's not actually in the Bible. So I think some pastors, some leaders are hesitant to that route for that reason, because they think, am I actually giving the reins to someone or giving them ability to lead if I'm still having a heavy development on them? But you still are.
Yes, 1,000%.
Right? And so...
Like, students will come up to me all the time because they see other students preach. I probably had 5 students teach this year. A few of them get multiple weeks a year. Some, it's the first time ever preaching. Which, once you let students do that, you open up the floodgates of, can I teach on your platform? I want to do that. And then becomes the opportunity to have developmental conversations. And in those developmental conversations, you get to see if they actually want to just have the slot, or if they actually want to be developed.
How do you discern that?
A series of like tests. Are you willing to meet me at any time, anywhere? Will you meet me at 7 a.m. at the coffee shop by my apartment? Okay, you will, and you'll be on time. And when I'm talking to you, you'll take notes. And when I tell you to change your outline, you do. And I make all of my young preachers manuscript their talks, because I had to do that when I was first preaching. And I make them do it 5 or 6 times over out loud. And if they're unwilling to do that work, they don't turn in their outlines on time. They don't manuscript it. They're not willing to do that work. Well, you don't actually want to preach. You just want to like say whatever your opinion is about the Bible in front of people. So you know what I'm saying? So there's things like that. Also, like, I've had people come into the ministry, see a student preach, and then immediately be like, I want to be a part of that. And then I'm like, okay, awesome. People who preach are a part of this ministry. They're a part of the family. They've made a kingdom investment into this people for sometimes a whole year, a whole 2 years before there even is like a conversation about teaching or preaching. Because I'm not interested in really good one-offs. I'm interested in like long faithfulness, both in myself and in the students that I'm leading. And so, even at Kamp Love, like, just I'm interested in the student getting to preach on Friday night who's been a part of Kamp Love since their freshman year. Just because there's more rapport there, there's more trust, there's more relationship, and it is more work. When you give some opportunity to some students and not to others, people get their feelings hurt. When you have coaching and development conversations, young leaders get offended really easily, because the thing that they feel like called by God to do, when you tell them that it's bad or you tell them that they're not ready, then they think that you're the opposition to God's calling on their life.
So true.
So.
Yeah. Figuring out how to word this in a respectful way. Not respectful. Then, I shall go this route first. So that, all those things were, how am I developing, giving people opportunity who have a drive to want to preach or be in ministry? What about the people on your teams who don't have a call to vocational ministry or to preach, but you want to still develop them in other gifts that they have? Because they desire to just serve the church and serve God. So how are you developing those kind of people?
It's a great question. I saw a pattern of a lot of college students coming to me and coming to you and all of our other friends in ministry and being like, can I serve on your team? Can I lead Can I intern? Can I be a resident? Can I work here? And through all of the different avenues of that coming true, I'm on the prayer team, I'm an intern, I'm a resident, whatever, I work here part-time. What I actually felt like all young people were saying was, hey, person who I see loving God and living out their calling, will you notice me? Will you
really
identify the gifting inside of me, call it out, encourage it, and then give me development? Will you develop me? I am a lump of clay ready to be developed. Will you, leader that I look up to and respect, develop me? And that's what they're really asking. And then I saw, like, in a ministry context, like, pastors take on interns, and pastors already have so much work to do. Like, I don't think people recognize that. Just because you don't have to be in the office from 9 to 5, people are like, oh, it's not a real job. It's like, well, you didn't see me meeting with a student at 6 a.m. and then at the prayer meeting until 9 p.m. and then talking to the student in their car who's suicidal until 11 p.m. Like, no one sees all of that stuff, which is totally fine. But yeah, so pastors are already have so much. And then, like, you go from your first year of, I mean, Unified had like 300 almost immediately. And then boom, 500, 600, 700, room full, 70, 80, 120 lead, like all of this ministry immediately. So your calendar goes from like, I'm figuring out my first year of ministry to booked. Then you have all these college students going, can I be your intern? Yeah. Can I serve on your team? And you're like, yeah, come one, come all, let's do it. And then interns are saying like, well, what's my job? I thought Aaron was going to develop me. I thought Austin was going to meet with me once a week and have conversations about my giftings and callings and all that stuff. And you probably have capacity. I probably have capacity to do that for one student or two students. But then what about the other 25 students who aren't called to full-time ministry? Right. And they want to intern at church because they love their church, they love God, and they love their community. But they're actually saying, can I intern because I want to be developed in leadership? Right. So there's like two different kinds of development avenues. There's like ministry development, and then there's like leadership, Christian leadership development. So I was actually wrote this down because I wanted to say this. I was at the Leadership Pathway Church Residency Workshop in Colorado with a guy named Dave Miller. And Dave identified 3 areas of young Christian leader development.
Who's Dave Miller? I'm sorry.
Dave Miller is a guy who just created this organization called Leadership Pathway.
So he's not a pastor. He's
used to be a pastor, creative pastor, worked at some very large churches. Awesome guy. Yeah. And his organization provides a leadership pathway for churches to train up residents to become the next leaders in their church. So sick. And then they also provide coaching for the coaches of residents at their church. So if you had 5 residents and you were their coach for college ministry, Leadership Pathway would provide a coach for you on how to best coach these young people. Sweet organization.
That's awesome.
So Dave Miller and Leadership Pathway categorize young Christian leader development into 3 categories: hard skills, soft skills, and spiritual formation. So if a college student is in college, then they're getting their hard skills, they're getting their coaching and their training, and then, if they're a part of a church, they're in ministry, they're serving the Lord, they're in spiritual formation. And then the thing that gets people hired and fired is soft skills. Can you communicate? Do you know how to look for a job interview? Do you know how to create like all of those sort of like how you're perceived? I heard it said that hard skills are what you do, soft skills are who you are, and spiritual formation is who God is to you and who you are to God. So good. And you can always break up a young person's development into those 3 categories. It's why people do residencies, because it's not because they don't have all of the hard skills for a church job. Sure. It's because they need a pastor to look at them and say, you sound dumb. You sound arrogant. You sound prideful. You don't know how to lead a meeting. You don't know how to send an email. So they're working out the soft skills. That's why there's all those memes about YWAMers. They're so spiritually formed. These kids love nothing more than Jesus and spending time in prayer and serving God. But if a church were to interview them, they'd never hire them because their soft skills aren't developed. You know what I'm saying?
So true.
So they're getting the hard skills of ministry. They're super spiritually formed, but no one is coming alongside them and saying, when you said that, it sounded like this. And I feel very lucky. It almost feels from God himself that a junior saw me when I was a freshman, saw that I was a bundle of energy who was offending a lot of people around me, and said, "You want to get coffee?" And then that, over 3 years, turned into me realizing that I can't just do and say whatever I want and expect that people will like me or want to be around me or I could get a job. And what he was doing was coaching through the form of relationship all of my soft skills.
Wolf, right?
No wolf.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that young people are saying, hey, will you notice me and my giftings? Will you provide opportunity for my desire? And then will you, through relationship, guide me into the person that I feel God is calling me to be? And the most humble young person always wins in that scenario.
So true.
The most humble person who is willing to say, I'm running fast after who I think God wants me to be, but when Aaron says that I'm not ready to give a message because I sound arrogant on stage, I'm actually going to let that form me. Not take me away from Aaron's ministry, not think that Aaron doesn't care about me, but be like, wow, God is using this person in my life to see me, and I'm actually going to let this be formed in me.
It's awesome. It's really good. Yeah. I know it's scary for a lot of leaders, pastors, whatever field you're in, to do this. I think it comes from, I mean, speaking of me in this too, where I'm often hesitant to this path, is it's less about me being worried about how my name, the ministry that I run is going to be perceived. And it's more about how, because I'm a college pastor at a church, I'm worried about how the overall church is going to
1,000%.
Right? And so I think for a lot of people who are RH, who are leading people, a lot of people, it's less of a fear on our behalf, and more of a fear of the people that you have respect for, of those people who are telling me, hey, your message last week, that wasn't it.
Wow.
You know? So I'm worried about that if I'm getting this feedback.
Wow.
I'm going to get even more of it if someone else I've let put there.
Totally.
Or lead in this area of this ministry. So speak to a little bit, or just if you want to encourage some other pastors, leaders to keep going about this route.
Yeah.
And the fear that comes with that. The fear of delegation is really what it is.
Yeah. You got to decide, every pastor for their ministry time has to decide what the end goal of their ministry is. Yep. And I've never felt that the end goal of the ministry that God has called me to specifically has been excellent production or even an excellent product necessarily. And so the risk tolerance for a message that's not that great or worship that doesn't sound that great is higher, because in my mind, my end goal is the development of the leader. Most pastors' end goal, and rightfully so, is the shepherding of the people in the room.
Right.
And it is a very intense balance between protecting the people that you're shepherding and providing opportunity for the young leader. And I think it takes an immense amount of relationship. I think it takes an immense amount of prayer and discernment. And if a student did speak and did a horrible job or didn't honor the vision that I gave them and said something that was unbiblical or whatever, I mean, they would never speak again on my platform, at least. Doesn't mean that God won't use them again, but there's a trust there through relationship. And then I would say that teaching the Bible and leading people to truth feels like the highest priority. And I could see how maybe someone could listen to the last 20 minutes of me talking and say, Austin's highest priority is developing leaders or young people or giving opportunity. But actually in ministry settings, it's blessing God, honoring God, and teaching the word faithfully. So those are always the lens of what I'm trying to do. So if you can't worship God in spirit and truth and let the young worship leader sound bad, then don't let him lead. And if him or her lead. And if you can't, worship God in spirit and truth through the young leader preaching the word, don't let them preach. But if you can, then I see Jesus trying to replace himself. Jesus is leaving, and he's like, don't worry, disciples, don't worry. Something better's coming. It's better that I'm leaving. And I just imagine his disciples being like, Jesus, no, it's not, man. Don't leave us. And he sends the Holy Spirit. And these 12 or 11 timid, kind of weak sauce guys who didn't even stand with Jesus in his last hour are filled with God himself and then become the people who build the church that we're still a part of today. And
right. Jesus could have stuck around for a lot longer.
Totally.
A lot longer. He could have been there all through Book of Acts as they were planting all these churches, going to all of them, developing all of them.
Yeah.
But he said there's better coming.
But he chose Paul, the murderer of Christians, to be the main church planter. And when we were doing Kamp Love, before Kamp Love, Jared, our junior year, goes, because we had Broder and Walker as freshmen, he goes, the 4 stages of teaching someone how to do something is I do, you watch, I do, you help, you do, I help, you do, I watch. And
that was Jared?
That was Jared.
Gosh.
And I remember being like, that's got to be the model of Kamp Love. And you've watched it. There's been college ministries in the Valley that have grown to 5, 6, 7, 8, 1,000. And God often uses an apostolic leader to start that ministry, grow it, and then pastor it. Well, I don't know what God has for you, Aaron, but eventually, you go and do the next thing. You move to South Carolina with Eleanor and crew and plant a church there. And God uses all of your apostolic, amazing leadership to plant that. And I guess in my head, I'm like, man, is there someone that Aaron could raise up that could take over Unified, that is a college student right now, that might be 2 years out of college, so that when Aaron inevitably goes on to the next assignment, because he's an apostolic leader, and apostolic leaders rarely stay in one thing their whole life, to take that on. And I guess I'm always thinking that about Nisi, about Kamp Love. Like, I could die tomorrow, and if Kamp Love went away, I haven't done my job. And if Kamp Love goes to 50 universities and I can no longer pastor Nisi, and Nisi goes away, I don't necessarily feel like I've done my job.
Right.
Which is an opinion, not Bible truth. That's an opinion.
No, you're good. I remember when one of the elders here at Grace, I was at lunch with him, and I was talking to him about this kind of thing. Yeah. I was like, I was in a state, this is probably about 8 months ago, I was in this state of, I'm scared. Like as you said, we've seen a lot of these ministries below 70,000 people, and then the certain leader leaves and it doesn't last. Yep. And I was just in this state of fear and of kind of an overthinking state, imposter syndrome, of where I was just like, have I done this wrong? Of like, is Unified going to be like these other ones? And he said to me, he just goes, Aaron, I hope that you're the worst pastor to ever lead Unified. And I was like, okay. And I was like, so you wait. I was like, you hope I'm the worst one? He was like, yeah, I hope the next person that comes in is better than you. And,
yes.
And the next person after that is better.
Yeah.
And better and better.
Yeah.
But so often I feel like so the biggest spiritual warfare for me is always Friday morning after a Thursday night.
Yes.
And I'm just like, I mean, Ashley can attest to this, who is awesome and who basically makes Unified run anyway. But most of my overthinking and unloading of emotion is on a Friday morning after ministry, and it's out of I don't think I'm the guy. I just don't think this is me anymore.
Do you think that is because of lack of encouragement in your life? Like, I hear that and I'm like, oh shoot. So that's happening last Friday. I'm like, dude, I need to text Aaron you know what I mean? So is that out of, you think that's out of lack of encouragement and support of people in your life, where I can step up and do better, and you know, your team can step up and encourage you better? Or do you think it's just kind of like, yeah, explore that for a sec.
Yeah, it's hard. Like, I think I'm a big words of AF guy.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, so words are very encouraging to me. But what you're told in all of life and in ministry, in the Christian life somewhat, is you do this no matter what. You like, hey, pastor, it doesn't matter what the people say or think. Well, it's the audience of one, right? Which is true.
Yeah.
But I'm like, hey, like, yeah, last night was amazing, but like, I think it was amazing for a lot of other reasons other than me. Which is true. But I feel like that's where the loneliness of ministry comes from. Praise God, I feel like I'm in the best place I ever have been mentally with pastoring and
praise God.
So I'm feeling amazing right now.
Good.
But when I was in that months ago of like, hey, I don't know how much longer I have, was because I drilled into my mind through so many people and so many conference talks, so many leadership workshops of, this isn't about you, which is it's true. It's not about me. But I've done so much of trying to make it not about me that I forgot about me.
Totally.
You know? So I think that's...
which is, by the way, Aaron, an amazing problem to have. Shows a humility of heart, shows an honor to God and to other people. I kind of want that problem. You know, I hear that, I'm like, shoot, dude, I want to forget to make it about me, you know? I want some of that. But at the worst, it turns into insecurity and doubt, and the enemy uses that. And on the other side, it's pride, and it is about me. And, you know, so how do you...
Because in that place, you can easily start just fishing for just some compliments and some flattery. And not encouragement. And
wow.
So I feel like that's where a lot of young pastors are, or even older pastors.
Yeah.
I was talking to a friend recently who's recently stepped out of ministry.
Yeah.
And his whole reason for stepping out of ministry was he was saved, and 2 years later he was made a youth pastor, and he stepped down and he's like, I've been a youth pastor longer. He said, I've been a youth pastor for the majority of my Christian life.
Yep. Wow.
And he's like, I forgot how to just be a Christian.
Wow.
How to just follow Jesus.
Wow.
So I don't know where I'm going with all this, but I'm just like thinking of like all the things you're saying. I'm thinking of the pastor who is like, I really want to do this. Yeah. Whilst also the pastor there of like the insecure one. Yeah. And of like, oh, like what it's just you said it's a tense balance. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
I think the enemy hates anointing.
100%.
I think that, Aaron, you are clearly anointed for ministry. And I don't want to, the messaging of decentralization of self to take away from that. Because why did God choose Israel and not any other nation? Well, it's because God chooses a specific person or a specific people to bless the world at a specific time. Why isn't there a Paul now? You know? True. Why isn't the state of Texas the nation of Israel? Although they think they are, you know? You know, like what? And God just likes to use specific people. So maybe that all these college ministries or churches around the world grow because God has it for that time. You know, I don't think there is a next Billy Graham.
No.
I think Billy Graham was a person that God used for a specific time, for a specific purpose. And now he wants to do different things, new things. So, yeah. Yeah. Dude, thank you for having me on the Wedding Podcast.
It's been awesome, man.
I love you and honor you, and you're one of the best pastors I know. Thanks for being my friend.
Of course. Praise
and Spain, if you're watching.
Yes, James.
James, I'm thinking about you, bro.
Amazing. Dude, I love you, man. Thanks for taking the time.
Yes.
You're a busy man, but I'm pumped to have you. Glad you're here. And if you're in the Phoenix area, you're a young adult, check out Nisi, check out Kamp Love. If you're a college student out there and you're at a different university that doesn't have a Kamp Love, DM Kamp Love on Instagram and say you want a Kamp Love at your place, and Austin would be happy to make that happen. But yeah, I just love you, man. I love that we're doing ministry so closely in proximity.
Yes.
And one of the most inspiring things you've ever said to me was there's still thousands of more college students.
Mm-hmm.
Just that simple line, I was just like, yeah, why am I getting content with a full room of 500 people when there's how many, you know, the exact number of how many like college students are in this city, right? It's
yeah, there's over 150,000 college students, not even just young adults, college students within like a 30-mile radius.
It's insane.
In the Phoenix metropolitan area between ASU, GCU, ACU, all the community colleges. So we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
I love doing it with you.
And in the meantime, we'll keep waiting.
We'll keep waiting. Keep moving through the tense water, and we'll be good. But anyways, guys, love it. Thanks for tuning in. My name's Aaron. This is Austin, and we'll be back with another episode soon. But give us feedback. Drop a comment. DM our Instagram. Give us topics that you want us to talk about. Maybe you have a guest idea or anything like that. But I love you. I love doing this, and I hope you have a blessed day, and we'll see you soon. Peace.
Peace.